Hi, I'm Krutika, and today's conversation is with Harsh Thanki, a recent animation graduate from Bournemouth University. He shares his journey from growing up in the UAE, Dubai, to building a new life in the UK, having moved here at the young age of 18 to pursue higher education. Harsh candidly reveals the subtle classism he experienced living in the UAE and the inspiration behind making the move to the UK. His story captures both the challenges and the joys of adapting to British culture to discovering unexpected freedoms. What makes this conversation particularly compelling is Harsh's personal transformation. Now a freelance animator with ambitions to grow his business, Harsh's journey illustrates how geographical transitions can spark personal change. Really excited to have Harsh join us for the conversation. Hi Harsh.
Hello.
I know Harsh has a really exciting journey to share with us, so we'll kick off with what was life like growing up in the UAE and how did that shape the dreams and ambitions that you have?
I would say it was a typical lower middle class to middle class upbringing, but with the addition of, I guess, oppression. I guess that's a strong word to say, but it was a bit oppressive. It's like shiny stuff being dangled, but then you can't have it.
That's really interesting. I just want to touch on that word oppressive. If you could just paint a picture of what you sort of mean by the word oppressive and the shiny stuff being dangled.
Yeah. So, from my experience, the country is really subtly classist. So I had an uncle, Jitu uncle, who came from India. My dad had some contacts and he gave him a job. And I saw from my own eyes how oppressive it can get. Like four people, one bedroom, they're just complete strangers. There's one communal kitchen for one whole building. They also share bathrooms. Obviously, like they didn't have it that bad, thankfully, but I knew many brown people who came from the East who had a similar experience.
Just for context for our listeners, Harsh, your upbringing is such that you and your family were from the East, i.e., India. You moved to the UAE, and you're basically presenting to us this difference, I suppose, in treatment and would you say, options available compared to those that come from the West and move to the UAE? Is that what we're getting at here?
Yeah, 100%. So, options obviously people from the East have, they are like factory laborers or construction workers. If you have something harder than that, then you typically come from the West, or there are some cases, like rare cases, where there's old money involved from the East, and then they, I guess, have their own business, or they maybe do some business about gold and jewelry. It's a bit hierarchical, and if you really wanna get out of your social class, then it's incredibly hard to do so. Someone living in the West is living a better lifestyle than someone on a minimum wage in the UAE.
Right, that's interesting. So I guess that sort of leads us on to your inspirations to sort of want to move out of the UAE to pursue a higher education abroad.
Yeah, absolutely. That, and also the fact that you feel more at home in a Western country than you would feel in a place like the UAE if you have gone through the same socioeconomic conditions which I did. It was always scary that like we might not be here tomorrow in this country, because if my dad loses his job, we have to go back. For me especially, I'm not even from India. I'm born and bred in the UAE. Like I have been to India 3 or 4 times for a month each, but there's always this in your mind, like it's not a home for you. And also, something actually happened last month. So when I landed in the UAE at the airport, I got profiled.
Just for our listeners, when you say profiled, give us a little bit of context. What does that mean?
But then I mean, they pretty much judged me on how I look and pulled me aside. This might be TMI. I'm sorry. I took a strip shot as well, and they actually kept asking me aggressively, like where you're from, and where are you flying from. They treat you like a human being because of the way you look. The case in the UAE is that it doesn't matter how long you live here. If you're not an Emirati, they don't give you citizenship. My dad's been here for 30 years now. The most you get in the UAE is a 10-year visa. In my experience, I've actually felt at home on a student visa in the UK than I actually did for 18 years in UAE. It's actually crazy, but that's how I do feel, because in the UK, they will at least talk to you respectfully after seeing the media that, oh, Dubai is so great, but in reality, if you come from certain backgrounds, then you are going to struggle, most likely.
I guess moving away from your choice to move and thinking about obviously the fact that you attended Bournemouth University, tell us a little bit about why you picked that particular university, and also tell us about the degree that you're doing, because it's a particularly creative degree, isn't it?
It is, yes. So I just graduated this year, but I joined the uni 3 years ago, and it is an animation degree. I chose Bournemouth was because the course which I wanted to study, animation, it ranks at the third in the whole world. So I was like, oh, this is a pretty good option. This is a pretty stable option as well. And that's why I picked Bournemouth.
And it's great that you sort of looked into the rankings, because I know for a lot of students, the ranking of that university becomes important in making the choice for the university you pick. So well done on getting in, and congratulations also for graduating and completing those 3 years. I guess the next question I wanted to ask you was around, how did you feel moving to the UK and Bournemouth in particular? Can you kind of describe to us the sorts of feelings that you might have experienced as a young student? I know you're still in your very early 20s, so 3 years ago you still would have been a teenager. So tell us a little bit about the feelings and emotions you would have encountered.
So this is going to sound a bit strange to native British people, but from my experience, British people, they have some character. You see life, like it's not just people lifeless like a robot, like how people are in Dubai. From my experience, it's lively.
It seems to me like what you were sort of experiencing in the UK was, and could I use the word diversity? Am I hearing you correctly there?
Absolutely. Honestly, like the moment I landed in the UK, first hour, I felt at home, because diversity here, that's wonderful to see. Like that diversity is actually incredible. In the UK, you will see someone wearing a suit next to a person, like a homeless dude, in the tube or in the bus. I'm sure the UK has its flaws. Okay, from my experience, it's just not as much as Dubai or India.
Just sticking with the feelings, how was it when you sort of reached Bournemouth? Tell us a little bit about that experience. Did it meet your expectations? Did it exceed your expectations?
There's some things which exceeded my expectations, but some of them didn't. The bad stuff was that the people in the UK are a bit unserious at their jobs. So let's give you like an instance. I reached Bournemouth with uncle and auntie, and they were there to drop me. And my landlord was like, hey, I'll be there at 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. And we were there for one whole hour, and they didn't show up. And my uncle had to wait for him to come. The house was actually on a high street, so it gets pretty busy. So you can't just wait with your luggage in the middle of that chaos.
I can imagine the frustration that must have brought with it.
It's not that I am expecting them to do that much. It's the fact that in India and the UAE, I guess also because of how bad the labor laws are in both of these countries, I feel like when you ask for something in India or the UAE, it gets done ASAP. Let's say my Wi-Fi goes down right now. If I want to ask someone for help, it doesn't matter if it's weekend, they will be here. I guess coming from somewhere where you expect to get things done, oh, boom, done. Like when you come to a place where it's more relaxed, it's sort of, it sort of stands out a bit more.
So we've obviously touched on some of you said the bad stuff, but obviously there's also things that you said have exceeded your expectations. Can you just shine a spotlight on maybe a couple of things that you feel moving to this country have exceeded your expectations?
I would say quality of life, because honestly, when my sister went to India to study at her university, she told me about her life and how they shared rooms in India, and they had no privacy and whatnot. For me, when I came, I was like, oh, okay, maybe I will also have to share my room. I was kind of expecting that to happen, but not really. I had a nice space for myself. Okay, so there's gonna be a hot take for you local native British people listening. The train system in the UK is better than you think. Bournemouth to London, I've never had a single delay, ever. Maybe it's, I guess it's beginner's luck. I don't know.
Possibly.
Yeah, you guys also have toilets in your coaches, and that's just incredible.
I love that it's the little things for you, Harsh. You know, you mentioned the toilets in the coaches, which to the average British person, we would take that for granted.
Yeah, and also, oh my God, the way people respect your personal space, also a big thing, which I really love about British people. It's also the massive boom in contactless technology. So my cousin taught me how to open a bank account on day one. My first thought was, I'm so tired. How am I going to do this right now? It turned out all I have to do is download an application on my phone, scan my face, upload my ID. The next day it opens up. In the UAE, if you guys didn't know, or even in India, you have to have like a minimum balance in your bank account. You also have to have multiple documents to prove that, hey, you're an Indian guy or you live in the UAE. But in the UK, all seamless, very easy to open a bank account. And hear me out, gov.uk is elite. I have never had a better experience on any website. Incredible.
That's brilliant. Hopefully, gov.uk are listening to this podcast and feel elated by the fact that you are really a fan of the website.
I remember renewing my passport, Indian passport, and the headache. And then renewing some of your resident cards back in India, it's a pain in the butt. But if you want to renew a visa in the UK, hey, just log on to gov.uk. It's just that seamless.
So you've actually put a spotlight on a few things that exceeded your expectations, and that's an interesting mix that you've got there, right from the quality of life, personal space, through to Gov UK website. If I could just ask you about some of the cultural differences that you might have experienced moving to the UK, were there any moments where you had a bit of a cultural shock, or there was something that was unexpected in the way that things were being done that you could maybe share?
I guess the biggest thing was jaywalking is not a thing in the UK. You can just cross the road. In the UAE, you don't do that. You have to always only cross at the zebra crossing or at a signal. You can't just cross the road. Because if you do, then if you're unlucky, if a cop sees you, you're done for. Here's a story. So growing up, we had a grocery store right opposite of our village. But my mom would always tell me, do not cross that road like that. I saw someone getting fined myself, but in the UK, you just cross the road. Use your own eyes, your brain, look both sides, cross the road, right? It's just relaxed here.
It was the opportunity to just cross the road whenever you wanted, Harsh. That's been an unexpected surprise for you.
One more thing. Every single time you pass by someone you know, they'll just ask you, you all right? And I'm like, yes. I don't know how to respond to this. I don't know how to respond to that.
So it's the phrase, "Are you okay? Are you all right?" which is such a standard comment or remark that people will make when they see each other. So you're basically saying that that's been a bit of an initial surprise for you to get used to. Like, how do I respond to that? Like, yes, I'm fine. What more do you want me to say?
And also because a lot of times, like me and my cousin, I go into the kitchen. He's coming out of the kitchen. He just asks me, "Are you alright, Harsh?" And I'm like, okay. I don't know how to respond to that. Like, should I just stand here and respond and then have a conversation? Like, does it make sense?
It's like, what is the social etiquette here?
Yeah,
I totally understand.
Yeah.
In terms of the next question that I wanted to ask you, is there something that you're especially proud of accomplishing, having moved to another country? Because you've obviously been here for about 3 years. You've graduated in an incredibly creative degree, animations. What are you most proud of in terms of what you've accomplished?
Okay. One of them is turning my assignment in 3 seconds, like 3 seconds before the due date. The internet went down. The time to submit it was 12 p.m. And it was 11:59. And it was just tick, 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 take 11:59, 57. It was like about 3 seconds like before the due date. Upload complete.
I'm glad you submitted it on time. But to students listening, don't leave it that late.
Don't do that. Do not, yeah, do not, don't be like me. And second thing was being able to cook and getting my nutrition in place. So first couple of years, my nutrition was pretty bad. And second year, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna eat better. So second year, I didn't cook, but I would order food a lot. I would look at my bank statements. I'm like, crap, this is too much money being spent on food. So I was like, okay, third year we'll cook. And from third year onwards, I was really consistent in cooking. I would meal prep. I would look at the nutrition values of everything. I would try to get protein, enough carbs in, enough fat in, all the macros in place. I will also plan my meals by groups, by food groups. So, okay, for lunch I'll have tofu for protein and then veggies, and rice for carbs. For the evening I would have lentils or whatnot, and then some bread for carbs, and then also some fruits. So that was a big thing.
Definitely. I think nutrition is so important for students and often overlooked. So I'm glad that you spotlight that as one of your accomplishments. So well done there. I mean, just looking back on your journey, how do you think your move to the UK, your experiences as a student at Bournemouth, how has it changed you, not just as a student, but also as a person? If you had to pick one or two things, what sort of changes has this experience brought for you?
I'm certain that the Harsh 3 years ago is a whole different person than Harsh now. Because 3 years ago, my priorities, my values were completely different. So when I came to the UK, one of my motivations was just be the best that you can be at your craft. But that's the motivation behind it was of vanity, and to get material accomplishments, that like a fancy car or a fancy watch. Because growing up, it felt like it was being dangled in front of my eyes. You're wearing like 2 pounds worth of shoes, and then someone else is wearing Nike or like good sneakers, but then you can't get those good sneakers because you can't afford them. So first year, that was my priority. I want to be the best at everything I do. It would fuel me more to work more harder, but it would be exhausting, like it would burn me out. But now it's like, hey, calm down, focus on what you can do, and then improve slowly, and then do it for a family and for loved ones, not for yourself.
Are your priorities and values more about becoming the best version of yourself, would you say?
I would say it's more so about everyone who I care about and love. And second is just being capable enough to have enough time. So that could mean pretty much being a freelancer where I can dictate my own time. Like when I want to work, that's when I will work. Or having enough money so I can take a day off without having to worry about paying the bills, or having my own business where I can delegate tasks, which I don't want to do, where I want to have my own time, my own control of what I want to do, and then just do what I enjoy. Like I love reading, that's what I want to do, so that's what I will do. Or I like to play football, I like to go on a run. And of course, it helps that they're good habits and they also help me develop, of course. At the same time, I actually enjoy doing them as well.
So your family, providing for the family, but the freedom of time, which I guess is obviously something you're working towards now that you're graduated, so that you can have a lifestyle that affords you that luxury of time. I guess all humans, we just want more time to do the things that we enjoy and not grind and work all the time. So that's a really good value and ambition. Just to sort of wrap up on a couple of final points then, what advice would you give to students or anyone that's taking on the new challenge of moving abroad or has dreams to study abroad?
So if you want to study abroad, the biggest thing which I would say is that find a place where you can integrate properly. Finding a place where you have family around, where you can just fit in better, your values align, and yeah, just stuff like that.
Just one final question. What journey are you on right now? If you could put that in a sentence, what would you say?
Okay, so in one sentence, I would say that just expanding my freelancing clientele and maybe hiring a few people. people who can work under me, hopefully, in the next year.
That sounds like an incredible journey to be on. And thank you so much for joining me on this podcast conversation and sharing your journey moving from the UAE to the UK.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Journeys with Krutika. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate and share. I'd love for you to hit the follow button wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. And if you have a journey you want to share, email me at journeyswithkrutika@gmail.com or reach out via my socials. I'm on Instagram and TikTok. Just search Journeys with Krutika because your journey is extraordinary.